Welcome back, everyone, to the A.D.D. show, where we're not always right, but we're never wrong. As always, I'm Mark.
And I'm Hans. And today's show, Mark and I are going to be discussing the divisional playoff games, all of the NFL head coach openings at this moment. But at the moment of recording, Meyer has signed a 5-year deal to be Jacksonville's next coach. Robert Saleh, that's it, to the New York Jets, and Atlanta hires Arthur Smith. But Mark and I are going to do our ranking the openings of those jobs from worst to best. If we were head coaches, where we'd go, which one we would pick first, which ones we would pick last, and go from there. And then we'll get into the 4 games. So with that, how are you doing, Mark?
Doing pretty good. Sorry, everybody, that we didn't go on last week. One of us was pretty sick, so feeling better, and now here we are.
We're here, guys, so we're ready for this.
Yeah, last week was an interesting week.
Yes.
I went 2-4, so I didn't really pick very well, but the games were good. And the thing is I picked the Bears. That was more out of a hope of how they played against the Saints the first week. And I really think them dropping that pass in the end zone cost them that game. I know it was just 7-3 at the time, but that just changed momentum. The Bears just dropped the ball. Ravens and Titans disappointed me. I picked the Titans, but as you can see in parentheses, it says more of a hope pick. I didn't believe in that pick at all. I loved how the Rams came out and beat up on the Seahawks. Browns that first quarter was that first quarter couldn't have gone any more perfect for the Browns.
The Browns definitely curb stomped the Steelers.
Yes, and since the Browns curb stomped the Steelers, everybody's picking the Browns. Like, people are picking the Browns like they're going to win the Super Bowl now.
Hold the brakes.
Exactly.
Yeah, hold the brakes.
Something you said since week 11. You said the Steelers aren't that good. And we gave you a bunch of crap for that. And it turns out, yes, you were right. They weren't that good. And it's going to be very interesting to see what the Steelers do in the offseason.
11-0, the start is incredible for any team. It's just, I kept going back and looking at who they were beating, and I wasn't impressed. It's just not an impressive record. Now, 11-0 in any league, in any sport, pick any sport, going 11-0 is really hard to do. So they still get credit for that, but you don't get credit for almost losing to teams that everyone else beats. So I went 4-2 last week. The only 2 I got wrong were I had the Titans winning by a touchdown, and my other one was Seattle beating Los Angeles.
So you did pick the Browns.
Yeah, I had the Browns 27-24.
Okay.
The only reason I said that is because I had a gut feeling the Steelers, again, were still overrated, even though I have it written COVID-19 in quotation marks, because I know the Browns had a lot of people not playing, but it turned out it was just their coach, and it didn't affect them at all. Right. So that's a good thing.
These games this weekend, I just said a minute ago that 3 out of the 4 games are a toss-up for me. The only game I have complete confidence in is the Chiefs versus the Browns. I have the Chiefs in this game. Just can't see them losing.
No.
And I had an interesting conversation today. The kid was bringing up the fact that if Kareem Hunt and Chubb can keep Mahomes off the field, the Browns have a chance.
That's a really good analogy.
Yes.
If Patrick Mahomes has ever been stopped before, though. That's the thing.
The thing is the Chiefs can score in a minute. And if you put Mahomes back up against the wall, he's going to come out swinging. And can you swing with him? And there's not a team in the league right now that can do that.
That's the thing. Can you go punch for punch?
Right.
And my concern is you're not gonna be able to go punch for punch with Patrick Mahomes. We'll get into Patrick Mahomes. We'll get into the Chiefs game in a second. But I wanted to say you were talking about all of them as toss-ups, really close games. All of mine are really close, and ironically, we'll get to in a minute. The Packers-Rams game is the only one I have by more than a touchdown of all my games. But going back to the Chiefs, I wanted to say something. The Browns, to me, I wrote down, are playing really good football on all 3 sides of the ball. I almost wrote down 4 sides, and I was like, that doesn't work. But my problem is Patrick Mahomes, and that's going to be the Browns' problem. The problem is you have to be able to stop him. The thing is, he's so multi-dimensional. Okay, so you get him on 3rd and 10, 3rd and 15. He's going to find somebody because you went deep and you weren't prepared. And I read that the Browns do play a lot of cover 3 deep. So they play, I don't want to say prevent, but they play a lot of keeping it in front of them. Bend, but don't break.
Right.
But the problem is, this is Patrick Mahomes. Bend, don't break works against dual threat quarterbacks.
It worked once for the Raiders, almost twice.
Almost twice.
And I do have to say that, but I do believe, did they play this season?
The Browns and
the Chiefs, did they play this season or no?
I'll let you know. Are you going to look it up?
I'll look it up.
All right,
but I just Tyreek Hill is just too hard to cover, but Watkins and the other wide receivers, Hardman, they're great secondary wide receivers. They're not good number ones. And Kelsey is a difference maker. Because
and think about this. I'm not trying to interrupt you there, but you also have Le'Veon Bell, who may not be a top 15 running back. That's fine. But he's going to give you 5-6 catches a game like he's been doing. And then on top of that, you also have CEH, who also catches the ball. Now, I'm not saying their O-line's not really built for the running the ball very well, but you have 7 people that can catch the ball. And the Browns have 2 great safeties and a great corner, and the rest of their team is really good still, but that's a lot of people to stop. That's my only problem is you start taking away the pass, okay, Patrick Mahomes is going to throw a dump ball 5 yards to Le'Veon Bell, and then they're going to play close, and then Tyreek Hill's in the end zone before you know it.
Right. So and you can't double cover one of them because the other one, you can't.
That's the thing. They have the fastest offense in the league.
And you can't go dime, nickel all the time because then you're going to get no pressure, and getting no pressure on Mahomes is just going. No. And the thing is Andy Reid is smart enough where if they are playing, he can run the ball. They will run the ball.
They have 2 running backs that can do it.
And so, I can't. As much of I've been on the Browns train all year, this is just different. If they were playing the Bills, if they were playing the Ravens, I could make a case for them to win the game.
I wrote down and I have it underlined is that I could see Chubb, thank you, and Hunt. I almost got that mixed up. I could see them both popping off this game. I have this game Chiefs 35, Browns 31. I don't think the Chiefs defense is spectacular, but the problem is Chiefs are in a lot of high scoring games, and this is what I have in my last part. Can you stop Patrick Mahomes? And in quotations, no one's really done it yet, especially in the playoffs. This man is different. Andy Reid is different. You have what I'm witnessing, and I know this is crazy. Andy Reid's a lot older, but I'm witnessing this Brady-Belichick thing happening there. And I don't think Reid's going to be there as long as Brady was there with Belichick, but they're just different.
Yeah, I will. A better analogy for me is like Reid and McNabb.
That would make sense. Okay. That was right about the time I started watching, so I'm using more relevancy now.
Reid and McNabb made, I can't even remember. It's either 4+ or 4 NFC Championship games in a row, and the big thing is they only made it to 1 Super Bowl. They ran into some really good teams.
It's also hard to win playoff games and Super Bowls when your leading rusher is your quarterback,
right?
Which is something we'll get into in a minute.
But Andy Reid. Yes, I agree. I think this Browns team is really good, and I think people slept on them a lot because, again, I said it at the beginning of the season, the Browns are the Browns. But they're not. That's the thing. You, as a football fan, you've never. I mean, I saw this the last time I was, 19, 20 years old. The last time they won a playoff game, and that was with Belichick.
Yeah.
Kind of funny, but
this is something I wanted to say too is the Browns are in a predicament with a lot of the teams we're going to get into from the AFC. Patrick Mahomes is going to be there every year. If you look at it back from 2001, okay, how many AFC championships would you know offhand, I'm not saying you do, had Brady in them? I'd say, 80% of them?
Yes, I want to say he made it to 9 Super Bowls, but he lost... I want to say 12 to 13 AFC championship games. So
the point is not saying the Browns aren't good. I'm not saying Josh Allen's not good. You have another dark horse in the AFC. The AFC for 20 years has been pretty consistent where you get one lucky Colts. You get one lucky this. You get one lucky Ravens, where the NFC is a different team every year. The Browns team would do a lot better, in my opinion, in an NFC where one team is different every year at the top. This one's different. Chiefs are going to be the next... I'm not saying maybe 20 years of success, but I'm saying they're going to be the next 8 to 10 year team like the Patriots were, where the Browns are good, but every team's going to get punched in the mouth by the Chiefs every year, it seems, and they're just going to keep getting better. So I like the Browns. I got them losing, though. I think they're really, really talented, and even if they lose, the fans shouldn't be disappointed. This was an incredible season.
Yes.
I was very impressed with the Browns this year.
Now, just sort of, this whole AFC thing, this cracked me up as far as how young and potentially dirty these quarterbacks are, and they're all in the AFC. Okay, Watson is the leader at, I believe he's going into his 4th year, or is he going into his 5th? I can't remember. He's the same as Trubisky. He's the same. So they're going into their 5th.
They're going into their 5th because Dak's going into his 6th, and they were 1 year apart. So yes.
So Mahomes, Allen, Jackson, Burrow, Lawrence, Watson, Mayfield, Tua, and Herbert. And you're going to add in, because the Jets, if the Jets take a quarterback at 2.
You said Lawrence? Are you talking about Trevor Lawrence already? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Just the quarterback, the names of the quarterbacks and the potential of, because I'm still going to say, I'm going to argue this in a little bit when we go into the coaching vacancies, but with Herbert and Burrow, I'm not there yet, okay? Yeah. I need to, and this is the same thing I say all the time. I want to see year 2.
Yeah,
I want to see progression. Yep. I don't want to see what I saw from Baker Mayfield in year 2. I want to see them get better. Mm-hmm. Mayfield did really well this year, but he didn't put up his year 1 numbers. He didn't even come close. And his year 2 numbers, he came back. So it's very hard in the NFL once people get film on you to take that next step. Now, Watson, Mahomes, Allen. You can even throw in Jackson. Yeah, I'll even throw him in there because every year he seems to have either gotten better or took a different part. So
he got his playoff win this year. So
and all those quarterbacks are in the same. They're all in the AFC.
I mean, if you think about it, just 10 years ago when I was watching football, you had 5 to 6 really good quarterbacks in the league, and then everybody else was between 8 and 25. You couldn't tell the difference. Right now, you could make an argument for any one of those quarterbacks being top 5 in the league. That's how just deep the quarterback position is right now, which is crazy because people go, what about when Brady's gone and Rodgers is gone? Right. We do not have to be worried. The influx of talented quarterbacks coming out of college is mind-blowing, and a lot of these are not number 1 overall picks. Right. Some of these are late first or second rounders.
I mean, Mahomes was it. I mean, Mahomes I think like Burrow's the only one on here that was a number 1 pick.
Pretty sure, yeah.
Watson
was 4.
No, Watson was 12. Watson was 10.
Okay, so he was back there. For some reason, I thought he was 4. But so because he wore number 4 in college, that's what I'm thinking of.
But it's just crazy to think of the talent. And it's the funny stat is the average age in the NFC at quarterback in the divisional in the playoffs this weekend is something crazy like 37.
Yeah,
and the average age for the kids and playing in the AFC is like 25 or something like that.
Low.
Baker's the oldest one. I mean, Baker Mayfield's the oldest quarterback, and just a little side note, if anybody ever is interested in seeing an absolute unbelievable, no defense, just 11-on-0 football scrimmage, watch the Oklahoma-Texas Tech game with Mahomes and...
That was ridiculous.
Mahomes and Baker. I think they both threw for over 500 yards. They both had close to like 5 or 6 touchdowns.
But that was the Big 12 that same year. Again, I'm a West Virginia fan. I know Big 12 football. This was the first year the Big 12 finished, apart from the SEC, number 2 of all conferences in defense. Mm-hmm. They've never done defense like this before. No, where people are like, oh man, that was a crazy Oklahoma-Texas Tech game. Like, really? They did that for 4 years straight. That's Big 12 football at the time.
It was. I watched clips from it, and it was crazy.
There was
what
no
they
defense.
Were doing.
No defense at all.
So we both have the Chiefs.
Yep.
Let's stay in the AFC.
Okay.
Bills, Ravens.
Okay.
I have written down right here. No idea. No idea.
You want me to tell you mine? It might make it easier for you.
That's fine because I still won't have an idea.
Okay, so I did some researching on this game. I have some listed here, so if it sounds like I'm reading from paper, I am. The Ravens blitz more than anybody else in the league this year. Josh Allen has been the most blitzed quarterback of any quarterback in the league. He's also the most successful against the blitz. His passer rating's over 100, 17 touchdowns, and I think Stephon Diggs is better than Humphreys on the defense for the Ravens. I also wrote down Buffalo has so many weapons. You have 2 running backs. I know one's hurt, probably not playing. You have a great tight end. You have Stephon Diggs. Can't remember the other wide receiver's name. You have Cole Beasley.
John Brown,
thank you. And all the weapons. And this is the other thing. Buffalo has not allowed a quarterback to run more than 61 yards in 3 seasons straight. The last time they played the Ravens, Lamar only had 46 yards and they lost that game. So the point is as I was said earlier, you guys might have heard me say, we're going to get into this in a minute, leading quarterback, leading rusher, the same player. Mm-hmm. They've never won. I went as far back. I spent like 6 hours the other day researching teams that had a number 1 quarterback was the number 1 rusher. They're like 0-11 in Super Bowls, and it's not even close. They're like 0-15 in the championship. You know what I mean? It's not close.
Well, they have to have some wins in the championship game if they made it to the Super Bowl.
But that's what I'm saying.
Right.
And the success isn't there. And I argued with somebody on Facebook, and he was like, Lamar could be different. He could be. I could be very wrong. And he is special. But the fact is simple. The Bills have a great defense, and they're ranked number 2 in the playoffs for a reason. They stop teams, and they're going to make – somebody has to make Lamar throw this ball. Mm-hmm. You have to stop him. And the Bills have a good defense. They've stopped most running quarterbacks. Listen to that. They've not allowed a quarterback to run more than 61 yards in 3 seasons. And when they do those games, their record was 8.800. So their 800 winning percentage, which is 8 out of 10. Yep. You can't go wrong with those numbers. To me, it spells trouble for the Ravens if they can't get the ball out of Lamar's hand. They're going to make him run too much. And I think this is where Lamar and the Ravens lose. And that's not a bad thing that he won his playoff game, but I think his play style is going to hurt him going forward. I have the Bills winning 27-24.
Okay.
I got a close game.
All right. It's all fine and good.
I know.
Okay. It's all fine and good. I have a problem with this Bills team. Mm-hmm. They don't put people away.
No, they don't.
And they should have lost to the Colts. I just pulled a Logan. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. You didn't lose. You did what you had to do to win, and you stopped them when you had to. Bad coaching, whatever it is, you still won. Okay. My problem is they don't run the ball.
No.
So they don't hold on to the ball. Okay. So you don't kill clock, and you're giving the Ravens a chance. Now, it's supposed to be bad weather. It's supposed to either be snow or high winds. Okay, or both.
I did forget about the weather. I didn't look into that.
Which is in for Buffalo. Lamar's never played in snow. Now, the game against Tennessee, people are acting like it was 50-2. Okay, like they're acting like the Ravens blew them out of the water, and it wasn't even close. It was 20-13, and if it wasn't for a no pass interference call, slip wide receiver, that game could have been tied. Because I do believe in Tennessee coming back in that game, but that interception was bad.
I think we can both say we're happy that Lamar got his win. We may not be huge Lamar Jackson fans.
I'm not happy. I hate the Ravens.
It takes a monkey off his back, but are they not a talented team? They deserve to be here.
Oh, they're talented.
That's what I'm saying.
The problem, this is the problem with why I'm having a hard time picking the Bills to win this game. Ultimately, I'm picking the Bills because I don't like picking the Ravens.
I understand.
Okay, and I do think the Bills are more talented. I just don't know. And that's the problem, because watching that whole Bills game this past weekend and watching both games, okay, they shut down Derrick Henry. Okay, great. You shut down Derrick Henry, shut down Tannehill, I guess. You won 20-13. It's not like you blew the doors off them.
No.
It's not like Lamar, Lamar still didn't throw the ball well.
He had 150 yards passing, 100 yards rushing. What is that?
And
high school Wildcat?
I just look at it as this game is potential to be a blowout in either direction or a dogfight, and I can't figure it out. Like I said, the only game I had confidence in was Chiefs-Browns. I'm picking the Bills in this one because I feel they're a better team, and I feel Allen is the better quarterback.
I agree.
So I am going with the better quarterback here.
Think about it, and I want to say this too before we go to the next one, because we'll move right on after this, is I think it's crazy to look back on Josh Allen, and I was a big sleeper of his because I think the Bills are bad, and they have been for a long time. They remind me of the Browns. No offense, DC fans, remind me of DC. Just a team I've never paid a lot of attention to. Mm-hmm. But Josh Allen, to me, we're going to take Patrick Mahomes out and put him over here because he's a different conversation. Sure. But Josh Allen, to me, if I looked at his numbers, every year has gotten better. Mm-hmm. He's done exactly what you want from your quarterback. Every single year, he's improved in every single category. Yep. And that doesn't happen that much anymore. Usually they're up, they're down, they're this or that. Mm-hmm. But I'm not talking like a little bit down, a little bit up, a little bit. No, it's exponentially. He is climbing a staircase where he is a top 2 or 3 quarterback in the AFC right now. Yes. And he is something to be reckoned with. The weather will hurt this game a little bit, but I like him. I think he's a great quarterback. The Ravens, I'm not a huge fan of. We've talked about this. Me and you, neither one of us are. But I think if the Ravens were playing anybody but Buffalo for the Chiefs, if they were playing the Browns, this might be easier for me to pick the Ravens in this kind of situation, but I like the Bills better than I would the Browns. Like, let's say they had to play each other. Mm-hmm. If the Steelers would have won, the Ravens would be playing the Steelers right now. No, not like that. There was something else like that, and I would have picked probably the Ravens in that situation. But the Ravens and Browns to me are similar. What have you done for me recently? And in the playoffs, it's nothing because you really haven't been there. Yeah, Ravens lost 3 straight years. Bills have never been here. To me, Buffalo seems better. Chiefs, obviously. It's what have you done for me least recently. Mm-hmm. And the playoffs are different, man. The divisional round's different. And it's going to be the AFC games are going to be really good.
Yes. I think all 4 games are going to be really
Well, we
good.
haven't gotten there yet. I'm just talking AFC specifically.
We'll talk about Packers-Rams.
Packers-Rams works for me.
So, again, I went back and forth on this one, back and forth. And I kept coming back to who beat the Packers this year and how did they beat them? They ran the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And they ran the ball. And Whitworth is healthy. Okay? He's heard a joke today on ESPN. He's 51, but he's not. But he's healthy, and he dominated last week. Mm-hmm. And that offensive line was a lot better last week because of it. The Packers lost their left tackle, which is huge. And against that defense, that's a big deal. Ramsey versus Adams is probably the best playoff matchup I have in a long time. I want people to look back because I don't know if Moss or Julio or anybody have ever played against the number 1 cornerback, but this is number 1 wide receiver versus number 1 cornerback in the league. And I did text in our group earlier, and I don't know if you saw it was Davante Adams has 18 receiving touchdowns, number 1 in the NFL. He averages 98.1 yards per game, number 1 in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Dirty. And that's missing 3 games, by the way. Mm-hmm. So that's even crazier. Now, total yards allowed for the year, Davante Adams, 309. Okay, 309.
Not Davante Adams.
Jalen Ramsey.
I was saying,
309 yards allowed this year.
So that's going to bring me to my next point when we get to the next game.
And it was a 50% completion.
It reminds me, you said one of the best matchups you've seen. We have another really good matchup we'll get to in a minute, but it reminds me of the Mike Evans, Marshawn Lattimore. Mm-hmm. That's going to be happening the day before. So I'm like, I agree with you. And this is what I wrote down right here. Number 1 scoring offense versus the number 1 scoring defense. That's this game. This is the game I'm really looking forward to. This is going to be a fantastic game. Adams and Ramsey, that's what I've written down. But the only part that worries me is it's Green Bay. The temperature they're projecting is going to be in the 15s. It's going to be cold. Mm-hmm. There's a chance of snow, a lot of snow. And what's going on with Goff's hand? How's he doing? What's his thumb surgery recovery? Because he wasn't supposed to come in last week. No. He wasn't technically ready, and I'm surprised he didn't get fined for that because he still has stitches in his hand. So if he's ready to go, that's fine. But
he wasn't inactive, so he can play.
I know. That's what I'm saying. And I'm not saying they will get fined, but I'm like, I get that's all you had. But they activated Blake Bortles. He's activated off the practice squad. Who's 2-1 in his playoffs, which is crazy. So it's more.
Did you see that stat? I saw that stat. That was crazy. That he has the most wins out of Wilson. Who were the quarterbacks?
I don't know. It was Wilson, Prescott. It was like 15 quarterbacks.
And he had the best record in the last 6-7 years. And I was like, yeah, it all happened in 1 year.
Yeah, that blew my mind. But I have. I know the Rams are going to run the ball, but I got the Packers winning this game.
Okay.
I think the Rams are really good on defense. I think they're really good on offense, but for some reason, the Packers are just on another level the last 10 weeks. They've been impressing me to the point that they just look unbeatable, and if they do what they're supposed to do at home in the snow, like they always do, I got the Packers winning this game, but damn, the Rams can do it again. They did it last week.
I got the Rams.
I know you do.
And the only thing I wrote down is great defense, good run game.
Yeah, and that usually wins games.
And that's how you beat the
the
Packers lost a few games this year, only a few, and they got
outran,
just beat up front. They are a pass rush team. Mm-hmm. They are get after the quarterback, which is great for them because usually they have the offense to get ahead. Mm-hmm. If it's a dogfight and you're able to run the ball and consistently run the ball, it's going to be a problem.
See,
Akers is a problem. Akers is very good as a rookie.
And this is the thing about Green Bay is that they have a stud of running back, but the difference with Los Angeles is they have 3.
Yes.
They can use anybody they want, and they have great tight end shorts, like short tight end passing. Like they can play short and condensed if they want, and just methodically do what the Ravens would do. Take their time. They don't always play like that. They don't have to use Woods. Woods. They don't have to use those guys, but they can. Yep. They're probably going to play short and take the ball away from the Rodgers. Yeah, you have to.
It's another one where I can easily see me being wrong.
I could see
like flipping that coin, and I just looked at it and I looked at the Packers games, and I looked at the games they lost. They got outrushed, and it was by a lot. And when you get Rodgers down, it's not like he panics because the man doesn't throw interceptions.
No, he doesn't.
But he does throw the ball too much. and try to do too much, and it's incompletion.
He will throw it out of bounds on a 3rd and 10 and just say punt it, whatever.
Right, or he'll just overthrow a guy because he wants to make that big play instead of driving down the field.
Yeah.
So you can get to him, but it's one of those things where I look at it and I'm like, okay, Packers at home, I get it. They're the number 1 team this year for a reason in the NFC.
Mm-hmm.
I just, one of these games, I just felt like, and this was the one where I felt like the Rams were going to win. The next game, we've seen it twice this year.
Are we moving into the next one already?
If you want to.
Perfect. That works for me. Right.
The next one we've seen twice, and twice they weren't good games.
Yep.
And it shocked everybody. Mm-hmm. The second game was worse than the first game. So everybody's saying that the Saints are going to beat the Bucs. The only thing I wrote down, and this is the only reason why I'm picking the Bucs. There's many reasons why I'm actually picking the Bucs, but this is the main reason. It is hard to beat a team 3 times in a season. It is so hard.
That's what I was just writing down to talk about it when I forget. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me once, or shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, shame on you. Because I don't think they're going to do it 3 times. That's going to be really hard to do.
And
I probably botched that whole thing, but you know what I mean.
You did. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. No, fool me once, shame on you, or something.
Yeah, we both fudged it up. It's fine. We haven't done this in 2 weeks.
I watched that game against the Bears with the Saints. And I did watch the Bucs just, walk all over. Can't remember.
They played DC.
They didn't walk all over them either.
Not
it was
really.
a good game. I mean, that kid Heineke came out of nowhere to
Heineke,
But
and then DC has the number 2 defense in the league. Look at that. Right. I mean, you knew that was going to slow them down a little bit, but
the Bucs to me have played a lot better since that game where they got blown out.
They've been playing better for weeks.
And I watched the Saints offense. And it's not the same Saints offense. I watched it against the Bears. They should have absolutely destroyed.
I don't think
the
Breeze
Bears.
has been the same since his injury.
No,
he didn't feel. He didn't look right.
He's, it's like
dink and dunking,
bink, and I get it. Like, I think the key to this game is stopping Kamara. I think that's the key. If you can hold Kamara, it's going to make a big deal because he's the one that's going to get the dink and dunk. Thomas is going to play, so Thomas is going to catch those 5-yard passes too. The thing is you don't play to let them behind you. Let them behind you. Play that 5-10 yards, jam them at the line of scrimmage, and see what happens.
Yeah.
And if Breeze proves he has an arm, then you back up a little bit.
But he hasn't used it, and God knows how long.
The Bucs have to be balanced, I feel, in this game. I think they have to not rely on the deep ball. Mm-hmm. I think they have to trust Brady's progressions and let him do what he wants.
This is a moment where you trust Brady.
Right, and it's not that he didn't throw the ball deep last week. He did, but it was like he picked and chose when he'd throw it.
And the other thing with Brady is that what you're talking about Brady last week?
Yeah.
But the thing with Brady last week, too, is if you watch the game against DC, which I did, he was getting pressured a lot. Mm-hmm. So he wasn't able to throw it as deep and go through his progressions because DC's defense is nasty. Yeah. This defense for the Saints is really good as well, but they don't come after you the same way that DC does. They're more let's just play a little bit more conservatively, only allow 8 yards, whereas DC's like, no, you're going to the ground. We're going to hurt you. That's what we want to do.
So you go ahead. You mentioned something when I was talking about Ramsey and Adams. You said Lattimore versus Evans. Mm-hmm. Okay. Fine. Take half the field in Evans. I'll go to I can use my other 3 guys.
So that's
like A.D. has really stepped up his game. Yeah. He's in shape now. He's what you'd like to call he's been hit and he's in game shape.
And they didn't have him the last 2 times these 2 teams played.
Right. And no, they had him the second time, but it was his first game back.
He had 2 catches.
Yeah.
And that's what I have written down. Lattimore's covering Evans, and it's not boded well for Evans ever. No. He's only had one decent game, and it was 5 for 50 or something. But this is the thing. Brady's going to have to be on his game. And what I mean by that is he's always on his game. But he's going to have to do it because he's like, okay, you go ahead and take Evans from me because I'm going to hit you with Gronk. I'm going to hit you with Howard. Right, O.J. Howard?
No.
No.
Brake.
Thank you, Brake. He's going to hit you with these 2 guys. And then, you want to take that? Well, I have Godwin. I have Brown. I have the little, I don't want to be offensive, little white kid. I can't think of his name.
Miller.
Thank you. And then you have 2 running backs. One of them in Fournette is much better through the line. Ronald Jones can catch the ball. You have so many weapons, and you have a consistent quarterback who knows exactly what to do. He is Tom Brady. And no offense to Drew Brees, one of them's looked a lot better the last 5 weeks. And I know Brees has been injured, but we're talking the one game, this game, the games before the injury. I'm seeing a decline out of Brees. And I didn't agree with you in the beginning of the year when you said he's got a weak arm. I'm seeing it every week, and I'm like, Brees is getting old fast, like Big Ben is, and Brady still isn't. I have Tampa Bay winning this game 31-21. I don't usually pick Tom Brady because I'm not a Tom Brady fan. This team's special. I think they're really good. I think Tampa's going to win, and I think they're going to play the Packers for a rematch.
All right.
But that's what I got.
So you've got so we've both got the Bills and Chiefs.
Yep.
And we both have the Bucks.
Yeah.
But I have the Rams, you have the Packers. So I mean,
next week's going to be a good episode.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good weekend. I think these. I want to say these 8 teams are probably the best 8 teams in the league. I know people really got on me when I said, somebody said something to me, and I said, well, they are the 14th best team because they're in the playoffs. Yeah. 7 teams in each division, and they said, well, what about Miami? Miami's not in the playoffs.
They're not one of the best teams in the league.
You can't say Miami's a top 14 team when they're not in the playoffs, and I get it. The record matters and everything like that, but it's just one of those things where it's going to be a very interesting playoffs. Yes. But what's even more interesting to me, and it always is the jobs that are available and always who's going to take them, what's this, what's that. This is the first time I've ever looked at it because I knew we were going to talk about this, so I wanted to be informed. I looked at cap space, okay? And I looked at...
That's a big thing.
I didn't look at draft picks. I looked at cap space.
Well, I got the draft picks for you. I'll help you out, man.
So the seven jobs that were available when we decided to do this, 3 of the jobs have already been taken.
Yes.
But what we're doing is deciding which ones we would want and why.
If we were coaches, which ones we would take from worst to best based off of cap space, based off of who they have expiring contracts, all the et cetera, and where they're picking in the draft and all that kind of stuff, and what we think we can make championship teams first out of.
Okay, so I found something very interesting.
I'm ready.
Today. Because the Eagles' job came available.
Yes.
Last week when we were going to do this episode,
it was not.
It was not. But so the Eagles are minus $70 million.
Yep.
Okay. You've got Atlanta at minus $24 million, and the Texans at minus $17 million. And then you have the Lions at plus 10. You have the Chargers at plus 22. You have the Jets at plus 68 and the Jaguars at plus 77. Okay. And
the Eagles are down. What did you say they were at?
Minus 70.
Okay, so I was reading today when I wrote mine down because I did their notes today. They've cleared 50. They're up to 51.7 now, and they're going to try to get to 24 million. That's they're shedding a crap ton of space by restructuring. So I think most of these teams will be in the positive by the next few weeks. But right now, that negative million for the number for the Eagles is bad.
Yes. And
if they try to trade Wentz, that's only going to get higher.
Right. And so since these jobs came available, like you said earlier, Urban Meyer became the Jaguars coach.
Yep.
The Falcons hired Arthur Smith, who is the offensive coordinator for Tennessee last year. I don't know where he was before that. This
he
is
was
a name
part of the offense with McVay in the DC.
Okay.
So he's part of that coaching tree, I believe.
All right. Which is a hot coaching tree.
That's a great coaching tree, yeah.
And,
crazy how that DC team couldn't win with all those coaches they had, but they've all been great.
Saleh is the
defensive
coordinator from the 49ers. He's now the Jets head coach.
Yes.
Out of those 3, I think the Jets hired the best man. This man is a no-nonsense, we're going to come after you football player.
And I do believe they're bringing the offensive coordinator for the 49ers with him.
I'm not sure on that. I know Schottenheimer was interviewing. Was in talks with from the Seahawks. Gotcha. I believe he was in talks with him. Now, the thing that I have here is, so out of all these teams, okay, the Chargers,
7, and we'll work our way up.
Yep. I'm going to just name it: the Chargers, the Jaguars, the Texans, the Falcons, the Jets, Lions, and Eagles. The Chargers and the Texans. Well, you can't even say the Texans now. All question marks at quarterback. All of them.
Which two?
The Chargers are the only one that isn't a question mark at quarterback.
Yep.
Okay, the Jaguars are going with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
They're stupid if they don't draft Trevor Lawrence.
I agree.
Okay. All the hot talk until the draft is going to be, is Urban Meyer going to take an OSU guy because he loves OSU? Now, that being
just because he
said,
coached there. He coached at other places.
Right.
He doesn't just love OSU.
the Texans have Watson.
Yeah.
He's signed. He's not a free agent or anything, but he doesn't want to be there. So will they do something to make it so he can stay? But everybody else, the Jaguars are going to, the Falcons, what do you do with Matty Ice?
Yeah.
He's a lot of money. He's going to be a big hit, but do you move on from him? You have the 4th pick in the draft. Do you go defense? Do you go wide receiver? Do you go quarterback?
So let me ask you.
Yeah, and I was just going to say the Jets, do you move on from Darnold? You have the number 2 pick in the draft.
Yeah.
Do you stick with Darnold and say, hey, coach, start drafting your players?
Yeah.
Do you like Darnold? Do you want to see what Darnold can give you?
Yeah.
Or do you draft a quarterback and you start over?
That's another thing you can do.
Lions, what do you do with Stafford?
Yeah.
Okay, and then Eagles, Wentz, Hurts, either one. That's a dumpster fire waiting to happen. So it's just very interesting because they all are big question marks at quarterback. So
well, let me ask you this. We'll go ahead and start this little round table.
Okay.
What's the job at number 7 you don't want?
Eagles.
The Eagles job you have at number 7. Why?
Yes. Wentz or Hurts, you need to blow this team up. It's a dumpster fire. It really is. You're old in too many areas. You're overpaid in too many areas, and your owner has just. I don't know if you can read the reports that the owner wanted this to happen or that to happen. And the Eagles are the worst because even if you keep most of these guys, that locker room is not a very good locker room. You have some draft picks. I mean, it's not like you don't have anything. You have Rieger, Jalen Hurts if you want to stick with him, and then you go with Rieger too. But you need a new offensive line. Yeah. I mean, Sanders is good, Miles Sanders, and you have Slay for the cornerback. Yeah. You have a few pieces that you can say build around, but you need to get rid of so much, and you better hope you get draft capital back. Yeah. And you're not going to get once. For the contracts you paid some of these guys, you're not going to get once. They sold their soul
for that
Super Bowl. Yeah. And now it's the repercussions of
it's the same thing that reminds me of the Ravens a few years back. Sold their soul for the Super Bowl and took years to recover. You can almost say that Seattle's doing the same thing.
Yes.
And eventually, the Ravens now are hitting a peak. They're working their way back up. Yep. These teams do. I have the Eagles in Houston here, and I put Eagles at 6. I have Houston last. I know you like Houston. I had them last before the Watson stuff. It's because I don't want $17 million in cap space, a negative. JJ doesn't want to be there. You traded Hopkins for a running back that's not even a top 30 running back. You have no really real weapons on offense. This is an example I use too. The example of the Ravens after the Super Bowl. You just don't have a lot of talent going around. You don't have a first-round draft pick or a second-round draft pick, and your third-round draft pick is in the 20s. It's not yours. So my point is you don't pick for 90 picks. Mm-hmm. Now, that's not a big deal. And then I wrote down now Watson wants out. So if Watson stays, I think this job is a little bit more desirable than if he leaves. But if he leaves and you can get a first or a second, you can rebuild some draft capital, I'm back in on this job. But for right now, if I just don't know what they're going to get, and I know their coach isn't there anymore, Bill O'Brien. I understand that. He took Alabama's offensive coordinator job. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know who they're getting. But to me, it just seems like there needs to be a lot of rebuild here. And you have negative money and no draft capital, and that's a scary position for me. So I have them last. I don't really have anything else to say. But if Watson wants to stay and they figure it out, they could put talent around him, but they're going to have to cut some money. And I don't know where they're going to cut $17 million from, but my guess is they'll restructure some deals. Yep. But they're going to have to be there on free agent signing day.
It's I'll get into my when we get there now. So you did 6 and 7. So
I was going to go to my Eagle. You want to go to Eagles real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I have the Eagles at 6, $51 million over the cap as of right now. They have the number 6 pick, and they have compensatory picks, however you pronounce that. The problem is Wentz and Hurts. I don't know what I would do if I had that team. I like Wentz. I like his potential, but he almost seems like he's on the way out. Mm-hmm. I like Hurts, but you took him out. Hurts and Tua are like the same page right now where the fans don't even know if they like their own quarterback. And this is the other thing. If I'm a coach, it's not that I don't want this job. It's the fact that they didn't even like Andy Reid for a while he was there. They don't like anybody.
Oh, no.
So you need instant success here. And if you don't have instant success within a year, they are going to throw you to the wolves, and you're going to be booed, and you're not going to be able to get another good job. Thank the Lord Andy Reid got the Kansas City job. My point is, I don't like this job because of the city, not because I'm an NFC East fan. You have no money, and you have to figure out Wentz and Hurts. If you roll with Hurts, you're going to save some money, but you're going to have to trade Wentz, which is not going to help your cap because you have to eat some of that.
Yes.
This is also a job I could pick 6 or 7 between them and Houston. I don't want to be anywhere near these two jobs.
Yep. My number 6 is the Falcons.
Okay.
Man, it's hard for me to say that because I really like Matt Ryan. Like I said before, I don't think Julio's going to be there. I think they get rid of Julio to get more draft capital and to clear more cap space. Their number 4 pick in the draft, correct?
Yep, number 4.
I don't think they should go offense. I think you have to go defense here. I think you have to get that defensive guy to make the difference and to start that remake over. I think you have enough on offense, even without Julio, to make a difference. I think Gage or Cage?
It's Gage.
Gage.
Russell Gage.
Ridley.
You have another guy.
They're
can't
fine.
Think of his name.
Hooper is there. You can't trade or cut Matt Ryan. He's too much money. Now, I don't know if there is a team out there that would say, all right, we'll give you a 3rd or a 4th, and we'll take him, and we'll take all of it.
He's too old for a first.
If we give you a 2nd, you have to eat some of the money.
Yeah.
Then it's pointless to trade him.
Yeah.
So I just don't think he's tradable at this point. And if I'm Atlanta, why do you want to move on from him? He's a 4,000-yard, 30-touchdown guy every year. Yeah, he didn't get you to the promised land, but that defense is the main reason why you didn't make it to the promised land the last couple times.
I got something good for you because I wrote this down. The Falcons remind me of, up until last year, reminds me of the Saints for the last 5 or 6 years. Drew Brees and Matt Ryan remind me a lot of each other, and they don't live that far from each other. You put out 4,000 yards, 35 touchdowns, 10 interceptions every year. You have a decent running back doing well for you every year, and your defense lets you down.
Yes.
Now, this is the first year the Saints have had a good defense to me in the last about 5 or 6 years. Last year was good, and this year was better.
And now you don't have a quarterback.
And now you don't have a quarterback. So my point is, Drew Brees is too far gone now that your defense finally got good, and the same thing with the Falcons. I don't think I have them. Did you say number 5? Or you at 6?
They're 6.
You're at 6. All right, so I'm not gonna go yet, but I agree with you. They, to me, I like Julio. I like Matt Ryan. I get it. They're expensive. Your offense is just about perfect. If you can do a 2nd or 3rd round running back to help that out, that's perfect. You got to take defense here. You got to improve this defense.
Yes.
And this is why your defense coordinators are not wanting to be there, and this is why the team happened the way it happened. You let up too many points, which was crazy coming from your head coach being a defensive coordinator at some point. It didn't make sense to me.
It's sort of like they hired the defensive guy.
Yeah.
And only paid attention to offense, thinking the defensive guy is going to make all the difference.
Exactly.
And it didn't. You need talent.
Yeah.
I mean,
and some people, again, and that's my thing with the Falcons. Your defense has to get better because if not, Matt Ryan is balling out every year on MVP levels.
Yeah.
And people quietly don't know it because your team's getting blown out.
Yeah. And so that's why they're, and I wrote down simply, I go, where do they see their talent?
Yeah.
And do they stand pat or do they trade Ryan and Julio to get draft capital and much needed money? And that's the thing. Julio's not going to get you what he's going to get you. Julio's a name now, but he's not. He's sort of like AJ Green to me, but better than AJ Green. But I will say, and it's like, what do you do? And that's the thing. And what's this guy, Arthur Smith, going to do?
Yeah.
And you have to make that defense better. So
he loves running backs.
Who are you going to bring in as your defensive coordinator and just make better?
And they have really, if you look at it, they don't have bad corners on the Falcons. Like, their team's not bad. They're just not playing well.
Right. So
it's the same thing like with a lot of teams on defense right now. They're not playing well on defense, but they have good pieces.
Right.
It's just like their scheme isn't right. Something's not right.
But that negative $24 million,
it's going to hurt.
And you're not going to get market value for Julio.
No.
But having that number 4 pick is nice
big.
because I mean you could really go any which way you wanted to there. You could go the number 1 wide receiver. You could go the number 1 linebacker. You could go the number 1 lineman. You know, you could go any which way you want, and it's an intriguing situation. It's just I look at that as what do you do with what you have, and if you stand pat, I'm sorry, standing pat with that team has shown you what it's. They're 7-9. You know, they were worse this year, but the last couple, they were bad.
Yeah.
So that's why they're my number 6, and they're your number 5.
They're my number 5. So I was going to say number 5. I'm going to get out of the way. Falcons, for everything you just said. I don't think Julio wants to be there. Matty Ice is getting old. He's expensive. But unfortunately, same thing with Carson Wentz. Getting rid of him doesn't save you any money.
No.
And sure, okay, same thing with Wentz. Is Wentz worth a first-round pick? No. Not to me.
Yep.
Second, sure. I think Matty Ice also a second. Matty Ice has more success. Okay, trade him. Trade Matt Ryan away. Whatever. You're going to have to eat some of his capital. You're going to end up making your negative 24 even higher because of this move.
Yep.
Great, but he's gone. He's out of your hair. Here's the problem, though, is you're going to get a second, maybe a third and a fifth. Is that really going to help you? There's no quarterbacks there, so you have no choice. And Matt Ryan is playing poker, and he's winning right now. He's got a straight flush. You have no choice. You cut him, he's going to get paid. Someone's going to pick him up. If you trade him, someone's going to get him. He's still going to get paid. And if you keep him, he's still going to get paid. Either way, it's a win for him. And this new coach, Arthur Smith's going to have to figure that out.
Right.
So go ahead with your number 5.
My number 5 is the Detroit Lions.
Okay.
No GM, no coach yet.
Yep.
Draft's coming up. What do you do with Stafford? You have a good young running back. I like him. Swift.
I get it mixed up every time.
You have Galladay's a free agent. Marvin Jones is a free agent. Galladay, I don't even think played this year, let alone did anything. Their offensive line isn't that good. Their defense isn't that good. This job to me, I don't care that they have $10 million. To spend, and they can probably get more to spend. I don't think you're going to hire a coach, and you don't have a draft pick. What's their draft pick? Do you have that written down?
I do not, but I'll look it up for you. Keep talking.
I think they're top 10. Maybe.
They are. I think they're like 8.
But I think that's in the range of what do we do?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, because you're not going to get the number 1 offensive lineman. You're not going to get the number 1 wide receiver. You're not even going to get the number 2 wide receiver. You could maybe go with the tight end, but you already have a stud tight end in Hawkinson.
They pick 7.
Pick 7, so you're not going to pick Pitts there. So they're in limbo. They still don't have a coach or a GM. They're looking for the GM before they even interview for coaches. So at that point, you're going to be picking retread coaches and or who wasn't picked.
But what that tells me, and I'll get into that in a minute, it tells me if you're picking your GM first and you're getting slim pickings, Wade Phillips came out of retirement. Jason Garrett is one of those people. Like, you may get a slim pickings guy, but you're fixing your culture. And I'm not saying the Lions have a bad culture, but they've needed a good GM for a while now. Yep. Even Louis Riddick interviewed with them. Like, if you can get a Louis Riddick kind of guy and you're like, you know what, we're just going to roll with a Jason Garrett. He wants to be head coach. Give him a 2 or 3 year deal. Worst case, now you cut him next year and wait till maybe McDaniels wants to do a job. I'm using him as an example. Maybe Bieniemy doesn't get hired this cycle. That's a job he may want. He's away from the Chiefs. Just my suggestion there is like, maybe hiring GM is smart, but these other teams are hiring coaches right now. And you're behind the 8 ball.
Yes.
A lot of these teams are behind the 8 ball right now, which, again, this isn't about coaching. This is if we were coaches.
Right.
We're assuming they're all open to us.
Yeah, so that's why. But not having the GM, not having a direction. You don't have a direction.
No, they don't.
And
they remind me of the Eagles.
It's, so that's why I'm sort of, and they have an aging quarterback who I love. I love Stafford. He has so much heart. They wasted this kid.
Yep.
They wasted this kid. And it's a shame because he will go down stats-wise is really good, but if you, looking at the injury report, he had a broken rib and he played. He had a hurt shoulder and he played. He had a torn ligament in his hand and he played. Like, he didn't, like, he just plays. And so, but I can't pick the Lions up there. Did you do 5?
My number 5 was the Falcons.
The Falcons, okay.
So I had Houston 7, Eagles 6, Falcons at 5.
Okay,
so we're getting into the top 4 now.
Top 4.
So at 4, I have the Lions. What
Okay.
you just said. I wrote down the $10 million in space helps. They have the number 7 pick. Yes. You got to figure out Stafford. If I had the job, I would probably want to keep Stafford. That's just me. There's no reason to get rid of him. He is getting older. I know he's younger than Ryan, I believe, which is good. I think he's only probably like 31 or 32 at this point, but he's good. He has glimpses and flashes of Aaron Rodgers' throwing ability. He's got talent. I'd try to keep Galladay if I could. I'd like to keep Jones if I could. I like the running backs a lot. I love Hawkinson. That dude's a phenom. I mean, I think he's just going to be another great tight end. The line is a problem on offense. Big problem. Defensively, you're confused. I watched a couple of their games. It just feels like missed assignments. It's like when your middle linebacker is calling the play, like, "Hey guys, watch number 82," and they're all looking around like, "What number am I?" They don't look prepared, and they didn't look prepared in week 13. They didn't look prepared in week 16. Right. By that point, you should be having your stuff together. I have them at 4 just because I like Stafford. They have a pretty good offensive weapons, but they have a lot of defensive questions. And again, this is something I've risked, which is weird. For some reason, Matt Patricia couldn't do this. And I'm not saying he's not a good coach, but he couldn't do it. I'm confused on what the hype on him then. Is it because he's a Belichick guy? Well, he didn't look good in any of his years here.
The year they won the Super Bowl against the Rams was his last year. Okay, I believe it was his last year as coach for the Patriots. It was either that or one of the other Super Bowls. But he was the number 1 defense in the league. Yeah. And it wasn't even close. Like, they were dominant. Yeah. And everybody said it was him. Now, the one thing Belichick always does, the only thing Belichick has is he has an offensive coordinator that runs the offense. That's why McDaniels was always sought after. Yeah. This year you haven't heard his name. I think he's sort of just teams that are looking for a quarter coach, they're just like,
they also not interested. They had an abysmal offense, by the way.
Yeah, but Patricia, on Patricia's staff was Belichick's son, Flores, and there was one other guy on there. And their defense was still good this year, and it was Belichick's son and the other guy, I can't even think of his name, that were running the defense. Flores went to Miami and has shown you what a coach is. Yeah. Okay? And Patricia went to Detroit and did the worst thing you can do, and he did what Bill O'Brien did in Houston. Yep. I'm going to pretend to be Bill Belichick. Flores didn't go to Miami pretending to be Bill Belichick. Flores went to Miami and said, this is what we're going to do. This is who we are, and this is what we're going to do.
Makes a big difference.
And this is what I demand. Instead of, I've won Super Bowls, you're going to pay attention. Yep. No, like, he earned that player's trust. And when everybody in the world was saying tank for Tua, Flores is in there coaching, and he's saying, you know what, guys, we're going to start winning games, and I don't care. We're going to win.
And Patricia's one of those people where it reminds me, and I'm just using recency bias with like a Dan Quinn. I just looked him up, and we can use the Ryan brothers, Rex and Rob Ryan. We can use Wade Phillips. These are all defensive dudes, and every time they were playing, Dan Quinn, we're talking Matt Patricia, we're talking the Rex Ryan brothers, Wade Phillips. All of these guys as defensive coordinators had a top 3 defense when they were coordinators. They all became coaches. None of them did anything. And I'm not saying defensive coordinators can't be great coaches, but sometimes you spend 3 years with a team, fired. Almost every single one of them had less than a 5-year career as a head coach. I know Rob lasted a little longer, but my point is maybe Matt Patricia's not head coach material. Yeah. Maybe he just a regret. And I think whoever gets him as a defense coordinator, going to have a good defense. I mean, I think he is really good, but not everybody can be a coach, and I don't think he could do it. And I think you need the right guy in Detroit.
Yep.
So you have, what was that, 4?
Yeah, my number 4 is the Chargers. Okay? Good young talent. Health is an issue with the talent. You have a horrible offensive line, and you have a running back that is not a number 1 running back. Okay? And you have 2 good wide receivers. I get that. You have a good tight end that's a free agent. Are you going to re-sign him? And that offensive line is as bad as the Bengals' offensive line, and it's going to get Herbert hurt. Yeah. Okay? And you're also going into year 2 of Herbert, which I want to see the same thing. And don't get me wrong, he had a great year. Yeah. He proved me wrong, okay? But I want to see, like, and it's just like Burrow. Yeah. I need to see that progression.
Year 2 is everything.
You know, and it's a difference between, are you going to be, and I'll even say it, are you going to be a championship quarterback? Or contender, or are you going to be
Matthew Stafford,
Phillip Rivers, which
Matt Ryan.
Those guys don't have bad careers. No. It's just you can't have them as you're not going to win championships with them, and it's all about. I don't like their defense.
Yeah.
Okay, they have a good young defense, some good young players, but health is an issue with these guys.
They were one of the most unhealthy teams this year.
And for what they need, winning 7 games hurts them in this draft.
Yeah,
it hurts them.
I think they're still picking top 10 though.
No,
they're not.
No. Because the Cowboys are 10, and the Cowboys weren't 7 and 9.
You're right. Maybe they were picking a little later than that. I haven't paid attention to a lot of teams.
So they have $22 million to use. They have probably a top 15, top 20 pick. You have supposedly the quarterback in place, but it's still 13. It's still too early for me, and the running back position scares me. Mm-hmm. You need another weapon because I don't care what you say, Mike Williams isn't as good as everybody says he is. He has flashes of 100 yards, 3 touchdowns, and you're like, oh, it's his breakout party. Here he comes. And then for 5 straight weeks, he has a catch or 2 catches.
He reminds me a lot of Davis for the Titans. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Yep. And now Davis is finally having 4 or 5 straight games where I'm like, okay, this is what we wanted for you. They were both number 1 and 2 wide receivers in the first round. The only 2 that draft, I believe, was them 2. And I think Ridley was later.
Yeah. So that's why, like, and you're going, to be honest with you, I don't want to coach against Mahomes twice a year.
Yeah.
I really don't. Like, and that was a big part of this is because you said it earlier, you're going to have to go through Mahomes. Mm-hmm. And you can have a year in a 20-year career like the Patriots where the Jets and the Dolphins won the division once each. And then Brady won it 18 straight years. Or 17 straight years. It's one of those things where I don't like the situation.
Yeah.
I just feel the owner is also an issue. He doesn't like to spend money.
No.
And when it comes time to sign your free agents, that's why I don't think Hunter's going to re-sign. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to get more elsewhere. And so that's why I have the Chargers at number 4. And I know it's not a popular decision.
That's okay.
Between everybody. Like, we've been going through with our friends and everything.
I'll get to the Chargers eventually because I have them higher up on my list. But I think it's not that it's a bad decision. I think a lot of it is recency bias with how well Herbert did. Mm-hmm. I mean, again, I don't know what Burrow would have been if he played all year, but Herbert has the best rookie quarterback career so far as his rookie year. I mean, it was spectacular. Yeah. But again, I would have loved to see Burrow play all 16 games. This would have been a great topic right now for us to talk about these two.
But here's the thing, and I want to be very clear on this, is I would be saying the same thing right now about Burrow. If Burrow put up Herbert numbers, I'd be excited.
Yeah, of course. And I would too.
But what do you do now? There is 16 games of film on you now. Mm-hmm. And there was, 10, 11 games of film on him? Mm-hmm. And Bill Belichick absolutely showed you what you can do against this kid. And I'm sure Belichick would have done the same thing against Burrow.
Oh, of course.
And I'm sure, so I'm not saying it wasn't, but when there's film out on you, it's what can you do to overcome that film? What can you do to get better? And that's the great ones always get better. And I'm sorry, Stafford, Rivers, Ryan, these
Romo.
Are great quarterbacks, but they never could get you to where you needed to go. And that's the difference. I want to see these kids get them to it because ultimately a quarterback like Rivers, Stafford, and Ryan get your coach fired, even though they're putting up numbers. So,
I was floored that the coach for the Chargers was fired.
I was too.
I understand they have 7 games this year within a touchdown, win or lose. This could have been a 13-win team if all those games went the other way. I'm with you. I was surprised he was fired. Actually, I actually wanted him. I would love to see him get a offense coordinator job somewhere. I mean, he. What's our next number?
3.
So I have the Jets, and I know this is surprising a lot of people because I talked about this with the guys. But they have $73 million in cap as of when I wrote this today. Decent quarterback. I don't think you go quarterback here. If I had this job, my problem is I would be torn between 2 players at number 2 because I would keep Darnold.
Okay.
I'd have a really hard time picking between Sewell and the wide receiver from Alabama.
Okay. So you have the wide receiver from Alabama above the wide receiver from LSU.
Absolutely. One won the Heisman, one didn't. And one looked a lot better in that playoff game because LSU wasn't there.
Okay.
Jamar Chase?
Yeah, okay. I'm going to say recency
but all
bias
year.
on this because Chase didn't play this year because he knew his stock would drop, and he. Okay,
recency bias is a lot. Don't get me wrong. Again, I told you that before. Like same thing with Herbert. Herbert would have been #1 pick the year before if he would have came out when he did. Either way, I don't think you can go wrong with either one. If they're both there, I would love either one.
Yep.
I think Sewell helps, or however you pronounce it, I'm probably saying that correctly. I hope now. Helps Darnold. But so would a top wide receiver in the draft. Yep. So here I love the Jets because you also have 2 first-round picks, you have 2 second-round picks, and you have 2 third-round picks. Mm-hmm. So you have $73 million to spend. You can get a Michael Gallup, and you can get Sewell, and then you have another second-round pick. You can get something Jets love. They love defensive middle linebackers there. Yep. You can help this team rebuild. I like this job. What I don't like about this job is you got to play Buffalo, and I know that's another thing. Buffalo's there. Miami's on their way up. Belichick's still there. They finished 3rd in the division, but they're still there. Mm-hmm. So every other team around you is moving up. You don't know. The dark horse Patriots could do anything in this draft, and they could. So I like the Jets. I got them in #3, but these next 3 we're going to get into for my 3. I would take either one of them. The first one offered, I'd want it. Of any of the next 3, probably, for me.
My #3 is the same. It's the Jets. Uh-huh. Okay, so now it's between, so my #1, I don't know if people paying attention are going to figure it out, but here's what I wrote down about them. They have a really good GM. I love their GM. Okay.
The Jets?
Yes. He's a smart kid. He's a smart guy. Yeah. He does good. He's going to do well with these draft picks, and he did well with last year's draft picks.
Of course he did.
Okay.
They draft well. They really do.
They have some bad contracts that they inherited, which you can cut, you can do, I don't know if remember the name C.J. Mosley.
Yeah, that was a bad contract.
Hasn't played in 2 years, but they signed him to #1 linebacker money.
They had Quinnen Williams too. Do they still have him? But they had somebody they gave to the Giants.
That was Williams,
and he was on a crap ton of money too. He was like $30 million salary.
So same thing. Do you stick with Darnold? Okay.
Would you stick with Darnold?
Yeah, I'm a Darnold believer. I really am.
I think with the right pieces around him, I'd give him another year. But I think he needs more time.
Here's what I'm going to say about the Jets and about the Jaguars, both at the same time. I have other things to say about the Jaguars too, but this is the key that you have. You have $68 million, $70 million, and the Jaguars have $77 million. Okay, that's a lot of money to spend.
Yeah,
but do veterans want to go there? Just because you have the money doesn't mean you're going to be able to get the top players or get players at all. You're going to have to overpay.
I don't think. I want to interject real quick. I don't think you go after veterans. I don't think you go after a J.J. Watt. But I think you go after a Robinson, wide receiver from Chicago, a middle vet, a Gallup, a middle of the line vet.
You're going to have to overpay.
You will, unfortunately, but you have at least the money to do that.
Right, but that's the thing, and that's dangerous territory to be playing
because they'll be traded in 3 years.
So that's why I said that's why they're 3 is and the Jaguars. To me, I'll get into the Jaguars next because the Jaguars are 2 for me.
Yep.
It's will the veterans come and play for you?
Yeah.
Now this coach, from all reports that have played for him and everything, they loved playing for him, and they love playing for him.
He seems like a great guy. So, and they're going to get compensatory picks too because he's a minority coach, which I just found out was a thing today.
Like you said, two. You have a lot of draft picks. You have a smart GM that he hired the coach, so they have to be on the same page.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, what do you do with the #2 pick? You get the best of the best at the #2 pick.
Whatever the best player on the board is.
You don't get the best quarterback, but you get the best of the best. You can get the best defensive lineman. You can get the best linebacker, the best offensive tackle,
best safety, corner, whatever.
Whatever you want, you get. Okay.
Almost #2 is almost the best pick in the draft.
Right now, yeah.
And at most drafts it is.
And so that's why I have them at 3 is I like some of the things they have.
Yeah.
It's just they need so much more. And I think you're going to have to overpay to get there.
Yeah.
And so that's why I have them at #3.
These next 2 jobs, we both have 3 and 2, the same teams. Yeah. We'll get into the Jags in a minute, but I want to go back to the Jets real quick. If I took this job, if I was Saleh or Saleh, however you pronounce his name, I would come to the Jets and say, look, we have $73 million. We got a lot of holes to fill. We have a lot of draft picks. I would appreciate my 5-year deal let's really working together through 3 of these. I really don't want to be let go in year 2 because this is going to take some time. You've been bad for a long time, just like with Rivera. Rivera, even though this was a good year, I want him 3 or 4 or 5 years before he's reevaluated because you've been such a dumpster fire for so long. You can't just say, "Oh, well, you went 4-12, Sally, you're gone."
Right.
You can't. He needs more time. Unlike Patricia, but he needs more time. Do you want to move into number 2? You want me to go first?
Yeah, Jags. That's
so
fine.
we both have the Jags. You said I think $70 million or something.
77.
Okay, so I wrote down 81. So obviously, internet can lie, but they have a lot of freaking cap space.
Yes.
You got the number 1 pick. You're gonna get Trevor Lawrence more than likely. This is my question mark, and I have them at number 2. They were number 1. I know my next team's number 1, but I tossed both these up today, and I almost put the Jags at number 1. The reason I have the Jags still at number 2 is this. Urban Meyer. College coaches coming into the NFL because they have championships scare me. Cliff Kingsbury's doing great. I think Lincoln Riley could do great. I'm not saying they can't. Something about Urban Meyer irks me the wrong way, and it's mainly because I'm a big college football fan. He irks me the wrong way, and I'm not saying he can't win, but to me this seems more like a business deal. It seems like, look at me, and I don't want to say it, but it reminds me of Nick Saban a little bit. Yes, you're getting the best quarterback in a long time out of the draft. Yes, you have 2 first-round picks. Yes, you have a great running back. You have 2 really decent wide receivers. This team's got a lot of potential, and your defense is okay, but that's good enough. And you get to play in Jacksonville. It's beautiful there. If you've ever been there, it's beautiful. $81 million is a lot of space to mess up, and you don't want to mess that up. The difference is Urban Meyer's going to be able to pay people legally now. So this is a big change for him.
How long were you dying to say that? How long have you been dying to say that?
A while. I like this job. This to me, this and the Chargers are 2 of the best jobs for me, and I like the Jags job a lot. But I got him at number 2 just because, again, I said Urban Meyer. I got to take it as if it's my job. I got him at number 2 because I think the defense is a liability. And I just personally like, at the moment, a 1-year rookie starting quarterback over a brand new rookie in Lawrence. Lawrence could be a bust. I don't want to say that. He may not be, but you don't know. It's so hard with the number 1 pick.
Yeah, you don't know.
You don't know.
You have the number 1 pick. The culture needs to change.
Yes.
Okay, now the culture, think about the talent that this team has lost.
Oh my
gosh. That they drafted over the years.
Ngakwe, Ramsey. Didn't they have somebody else on the corner? Another corner? They had 2 of them, didn't they? Isn't he on the Ravens or something? No.
They have the defensive lineman is on the Ravens. Ngakwe and the other way. There's another one that they just signed this offseason, but also Fournette.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sorry, you had Allen Robinson.
I forgot that he was there, yeah.
So the culture has to change because these players didn't want to be there after a while.
Yeah.
Okay, and they bolted. Okay. And I'm going to get into Urban Meyer in a second since you brought him up.
Yeah.
They have good talent. Can that talent take the next step?
That's the thing.
And can Lawrence get DJ Chark to the next step? Can he get James Robinson to the next step?
I don't know if they're going to understand how strong this dude's arm is.
Right.
That's the thing.
And so I think Lawrence is the real deal.
I do too.
I think he is going to be very good.
I do too. The only reason I mentioned the word bust is we don't know. But more than likely, if you ask me to bet my house on it, he's going to be a Pro Bowler in no time.
Yes.
So
now to bring up Urban Meyer, I think this is the exact type of team you want a college coach to coach.
Because they're young?
Because they're young, and this is a man that will get you, if you pay, he's good enough. And if
he's a great coach.
If the reports are true that Wade Phillips is coming out of retirement to go with him to Jacksonville.
That's going to help.
That's going to help. And because Wade Phillips is a no-nonsense guy, but he's also a team guy. Anybody that's played for Wade Phillips has said, we loved playing for Wade Phillips.
I loved Wade Phillips in Dallas, but I just didn't like him as head coach.
Right. And so that is, if those reports, and then if he gets that offensive coordinator, I mean, me personally, I'd stick with Gruden. I think Jay Gruden's a very
bad guy.
A good offensive coordinator.
He's good.
But it is Urban Meyer, I think, is the right guy for this job because these kids are so young. Mm-hmm. So they are still that rah-rah type, stuff. Now, my number 1 is the only team we haven't mentioned yet. It was your number 7.
Yep.
The Houston Texans.
Yep.
And I want to stress this without a doubt. If Watson is traded, This is not my number one squad.
Yes.
Okay.
I can understand
It
that.
would be a top 3.
I told you.
Because I think if Watson is traded, you get 2 or 3 number 1 picks, and you get a player.
That's only coming from Miami, though.
Well, no, I think you could get two ones. Like, you could get a 1 this year, a 1 next year, and a 1
I would say there's only 3 teams with multiple 1s this year.
Right, you could get a team like Chicago to trade you multiple 1s for the future and a couple 2s to get Watson out. Now, if that's the case, that's a very desirable job, okay? But the only reason why I take this job is, 1, I like the guy that they hired as their GM. Mm-hmm. I think he's a smart guy, okay? Mm-hmm. And they have Watson. Okay, you said they have no offensive talent.
Except for Watson.
But
that's
that
what I meant.
man put up number 2 quarterback numbers this year. He had his best offensive performance of his career.
With 4 wins, though.
But
and he played all year.
What I'm saying is they didn't lose because of Watson.
No.
Or their offense. They lost because their defense was awful.
Let me ask you this, though.
So I am taking this job because Watson will get that. Watson could have me and you at wide receiver.
I understand.
And we're going to have 5-6 touchdowns with almost 1,000 yards.
But this is my problem with the Texans' job. It's not a bad job. All of these jobs are great jobs. What bothers me is, yes, he could throw to us, but your defense is allowing 30 points a game.
Yes.
So he's not losing the games. The rest of the players are losing on him.
But
that's the thing.
If it's done right, okay, that minus 17 million is going to go away within a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. J.J. Watt can still get you a number 2 pick. Okay. He's not going to get you a number 1 pick. Yeah. Okay. He could even get you a number 3 pick. Okay.
Yeah.
That's still good enough right now.
That's good.
And then this is the thing, is we are all. And I look at it as you have Watson for 5 years. 5 years of Watson in his prime. Okay? That means you can have this year, okay, to start rebuilding. And it can be a quick rebuild. I think players will want to go to Houston.
If you get But again, right head coaching, we're going to talk about it. This is coming from us, but they want to play for the right coach. The GM was the right pick, I believe.
But if I'm a wide receiver and I'm a free agent, and Houston comes calling and offers me a little less than what the Jets or Jacksonville is offering me, and I can play with Watson, I'm going to Houston.
Yeah.
Like, so you can get these veterans on a 1-year deal to play with Watson.
But they're going to have to remember the cap space. They're going to have to fix that because you have no 1, you have no 2. And you have to. So let's say you get rid of JJ. Right. Let's say you get rid of somebody and get picks back. They're going to need at least $8+ million for a Gallup.
But you also have an All-Pro left tackle, which is huge in the league. Their offensive line isn't as bad as you think.
It's not.
And if you look up David Johnson's numbers, if he stayed healthy all year, he put up decent numbers. I'm not saying
top 30.
I'm not saying he's, but you can get away with having him as your running back. Or what? You cut him.
Yeah.
Because you don't owe him any money.
That was my point of saying he was top 30 running back, is because some teams' backups are better than him. Mm-hmm. And that's my thing, is I don't hate the Houston job at all, but sometimes I go back and forth saying, would I rather have it with Watson or without Watson? And personally for me, I would have this job higher. This is where we're different. I would have this job higher because I love Deshaun Watson. I've told everybody this. I love him a lot. But I would much rather see him succeed somewhere where he's not in my dumpster fire. Mm-hmm. And it's only because his team won, 4 games? So if I could trade him, and let's say the Dolphins came knocking. They're not even sure about Tua. And they gave me 2 of their first rounders in a second. I am so excited that I get to be participating in this draft. Mm-hmm. You're going to be on day 3 of the draft and go, where are the Texans? They don't get to pick. So if I can get some draft picks this year in exchange for Watson, you're done with his money. You can actually rebuild this team because you want to see him enjoy his prime. And it's not going to work if you don't put anybody else around him.
Right. And clearly, this is what I wrote. No cap space, questionable talent, no draft picks, no money. But they have Watson.
I agree.
That is the only reason why I have them at number 1.
You have a top 8, top 10 talented quarterback that's on his deal.
Top 5. He's easily a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now.
That's fine. I'm not here to argue that because we don't have time to argue that.
Yeah, but that's why they're my number. That's why they're my number 1. It's not a good pick. Nate and I went after on our the A.D.D page on Facebook, and it is. What I just have the Texans, and it's because of Watson.
Yep. So we talked about it earlier, and most people know me. I've been big on the Chargers all year. It's basically because I enjoy the feeling of telling people that they were wrong about Justin Herbert. It's really, really fun. But to be fair, it's not just me. most people I talk to, this is a very desirable job, and it's because you have $30 million in cap. You have easily a top wide receiver in Allen, in Keenan Allen. Depending on if people want to argue top 15, that's fine. But the dude balls out every year. He's like Mike Evans, but you just forget about him because he's on the West Coast. He catches almost 1,000 yards a year. Their defense was 23rd, which isn't terrible. That's not terrible, but your running backs are decent. I don't think Eckler's a leading back. I think Justin Jackson's not bad. I like him. Hunter Henry, you got to figure that out. If you're going to keep him, sure. He needs to take a small discount for being unhealthy. At times he does. He is injury prone. And again, your rookie threw 30 touchdowns. That, to me, whether it was Herbert or whether it was John Michael Smith, I don't care. The fact is you have your quarterback, and you know, just like the Houston, that's why I have these two. Houston, I like Watson, don't get me wrong, but anybody with a solidified quarterback is everything. That's huge. The difference is they have Herbert at a young rookie deal, but you got all the weapons you need. Your O-line needs some help. Your defense needs some help. The problem with this one is you got to play the Chiefs twice a year. And the more I think about that, that's going to be tough. But if you don't play them twice a year, you're going to see them in the playoffs. So either way, the Chiefs are everyone's dark horse, and most of these jobs are in what division? The AFC. What, 3 or 4 of 5 of them? So 6 of them. I think the only one, not the Lions and not Falcons. Everything are Eagles. I forgot about them. So you have 4 of these jobs, and I just like the Chargers. Again, I was big on them. I would take this job. I would take them, the Jags, and the Jets all at the top, but I would prefer to move Houston up if they got rid of Watson, only because I don't want to ruin his prime, and I'd rather see – I want a king's ransom for him. Just like you said, if the Jags traded number 1, I want everything. I want the soul from the other team for this guy who is going to change that franchise around. And I no offense to Tua, I think the Dolphins are stupid if they don't call Houston. I'm just saying their team is right there.
But you're giving up for me, like to get rid of Watson. You're giving up 2 ones, Tua, and another maybe number 1 next year, or you're giving up a number 2.
That's fine.
Number 3
you have
this
3
year.
What do they have? 3 number 1s this year?
Yeah.
Again, back-to-back years. So give up 2 of them. You still get a first rounder. Keep your second and give them maybe next year's second and something, and then give them a player. I don't care. But you're bringing in a quarterback that's 10 years more developed than Tua. I like Tua. This is not a disrespect to him. You went 10-6 and missed the playoffs, sure. But 10-6 with who you had, not figuring out who your quarterback was, and put Watson in it, it's a 12-win team. So I don't think you can go wrong with any of these. I'd love to be a head coach looking for a job because I would take any of these if they came calling. Yep. Just some of them we agreed towards the end. I know we disagreed on the Houston one, but overall, these are all good opportunities, and I can't wait to see what all these coaches do. So with that, do you have anything else? We went a little over for you guys. I know we missed last week, so we're sorry about that.
It's going to be a good weekend this weekend. Good football. Just enjoy and have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend, everybody.